More in time.
All right, recording started. Oh, where'd you go? There you are. And you're back.
All right, good morning, everybody. Today's shir has been sponsored by Eddie Stopek in commemoration of his brother's yard site, Dov Ber ben Tzvi Hirsch, his Neshama Shem Aliyah. Now we'll learn for the schus of the Neshama. All right, so we got to the Mishnah on the bottom of Nun Beis Amud Beis. So the Mishnah says, Chamor Yaitse b'mardas b'zman shikshurabo. So a chamor, a donkey, is allowed to go out. In now, Rosh Hashanah, as we explained once again, that a person is obligated, not only him but also his property and his animals, to not violate Shabbos. And his animal carrying would be a violation of Shabbos. So, however, he can go out with a mardas. Mardas is basically the sack, the saddle, or it's the blanket that goes underneath the saddle, right? So it's like the saddle cloth that goes on top of the animal, and the saddle goes on that. So if it is tied down, it says when it's tied down, then one is allowed to go ahead and go out into the Shus Rabban with it. And then it says other halachas, zacharim, yaitzin, luluvin. So the male animals are allowed to go out luluvin. We'll soon see what that is towards the end of the day. And rachelos and female and then ewes, right? Yaitza, shechuzos, kavulos, and the kavunos. They can go out these with shechuzos, kavulos, and kavunos. Once again, the Gemara will explain what these are, what it is being attached to the female animal, and that would be permitted for the animal to go out with those, and it's considered to be part either something that the animal needs, but it's not considered to be a muscle. It's not considered to be something which is being carried by the animal. And ha'izim yaitzas tzuros. And goats are allowed to go out tied. In other words, they tie their udders. And so you're allowed to go ahead and tie their udders, says the Mishnah. And Rabbi Yosi, Rabbi Yosi says all these cases we mentioned, anytime you put whatever on the animal, that's considered to be carrying, except for the case of the rechelim, the female ewes, with the kvunos, right? And like I said, we'll see what those are probably tomorrow. And Rabbi Huda says, izim yaitza tzuros. That what you said, that the goats can go out tzuros tied up. So the Tanakama, which said it was soon see this Gemara, and also this machlokes in the Gemara, that the izim, according to the Tanakama, can go out tied up. That's not a problem. We're not worried. It's not considered to be carried. Rabbi Yosi said it's completely usher. It's considered to be a masui. And Rabbi Huda izim yaitza tzuros. You're allowed to go ahead and wear it. However, liyavesh, only to go ahead and for the udders to dry out the milk. In other words, they would tie it tightly to the udders, and therefore it would prevent more milk from coming out. And therefore, since it's tied tightly, we're not worried it's going to fall and be carried by the owner of a lolachalid, but not to go ahead and catch the milk. So despite the fact that it might not be usher outs being a masui about something being carried by the animal, however, it's tied loosely, it's generally not as tied tightly, and therefore might fall off, and therefore the owner of the animal might go ahead and carry it, and therefore it would be forbidden according to Rabbi Huda. Fine, let's see the Gemara. So Zak the Gemara, top of Nun Gimel, Amud Aleph. Omar Shmuel, V'hu shekshur lo b'erev Shabbos. And this, we're talking about a case of when the animal was tied. So we said that the cloth that goes on top, the saddle cloth that goes on top, is allowed to go ahead and be placed on, is allowed to be worn on the animal. However, provided that it's tied, and it has to be tied in erev Shabbos, right? And even to say that we're not talking about tying a permanent knot, more tying a temporary knot, which is not forbidden. So there's no issue of tying, but the tying should be done on erev Shabbos. And why is that? Because you see, if it's tied erev Shabbos, then you see that is something that the animal needs, and it's always constantly worn, as opposed to something which generally gets put on, or something that puts on and off. Therefore, maybe since it's not always worn, then you see it's not really necessary, and therefore it would be considered a masui. So Amar Rav Nachman Masisa Namidiki, you also make an inference later on in the Mishnah. We have another Mishnah later on Daf Nun Daled Amud Beis. It says, Eina Chamor Yaitz Maradas B'Zman Shenik Shurlo. So the Mishnah over there says, right, tomorrow's Daf, it says that the Chamor cannot go out with the saddle cloth on the time when it's not tied. So similar to our Mishnah is in the positive, right? Our Mishnah says you can go out and when it's tied, and the Mishnah there says you cannot go out when it's not tied. So heichidami. What's the case over there? If it means over there you can't go out at all with it, if it's not tied at all. So pshita, it's obvious why. Perhaps it's going to go ahead and fall off, and the owner will come and go ahead and pick it up. Elav, rather, what must it be? She'ena kshura me'erev Shabbos. Rather, it must mean that it really was tied on, but it wasn't tied on erev Shabbos. It was only tied right on that morning or Saturday morning. So michlal, so you can prepare to the Reisha that which our Reisha said you're allowed to go ahead and carry it when it's tied. Shekshura lo me'erev Shabbos. That's referring to a case when it was tied on erev Shabbos. And Tanya Nami Hakisim learned Chamor Yetzav Mardas B'Shvan Shekshura lo me'erev Shabbos. Right, a donkey can go out with a saddlecloth in the time when, as long as it was tied on erev Shabbos, lo ukaf and banat, it cannot go out with a saddle. Afal pisha kshurlo, even though if it's tied. Why? Because the fact that a saddle is considered to be something that is not really protecting the animal. That's for something else, and therefore it's considered to be a masui. It's considered to be something which is carried an extra, and therefore that would be considered carrying a burden, and it'll be considered a case of hotzah and Rosh Hashanah. Even if the saddle was tied, Shabbos was tied on Friday. Now he says even a saddle, you can go ahead, right? If it was tied in erev Shabbos, you're allowed to go ahead and wear a saddle. Saddle is okay; it keeps the animal warm. We'll soon see. And as long as you don't go ahead and put on masrichin on the animal, in other words, you can have the saddle on. Right, you can have the saddle on, but you can't go ahead and put on masrichin, Rashi, right? No, is it because why? Because when you put on masrichin, that it holds underneath the animal. Right, it goes underneath the chest of the animal, because then it looks like that the person is going out into public, right? As Rashi points out, he says masrichin, right? The michzei kamisha reitza lahatina maso. It looks like a person, since he's tying the saddle and he's putting on the saddle not only just on top, because perhaps if it's just on top, perhaps it could be used to be warming the animal. It can be considered something the animal commonly wears. However, once you start strapping on underneath the animal, then it appears that the animal is being saddled in order to carry, and therefore that would be forbidden. Also, go ahead and tie it underneath its tail. Also, they used to go over here to help tie down the saddle in order that to help it when it would be carrying burden. So therefore, you can't do those items, but you can just, according to Rav Shimon Gamliel, you can go ahead and have the saddle on if it's tied on from erev Shabbos. So boimene Ravasi bar Nosim Reb Chia bar Ravashi mahu lite mardos agabi chamor b'Shabbos. Can you go ahead and put a mardos? Right? Can you go ahead and put this saddlecloth upon a donkey on Shabbos? Is it considered to be basically a tirchei seir? Is it extra exertion or not? If it's not needed, then one is not allowed to go ahead and do extra type of work or exertion on Shabbos. So Amarle mutter. He says mutter. You can go ahead and do it. So Amarle v'chima bein zel ukaf. What's the difference between this and a saddle? Right? As putting on a saddle or removing a saddle, as we'll soon see, is forbidden. So why should this putting on a saddlecloth be any different than removing a saddle? So Ishtik, he was quiet. So Esave, since he was quiet, it sounded like so that he argued. He didn't argue back. Esave uchav shal gabi chamor leitel biyado. If you have a saddle on top of a donkey, you cannot go ahead and take off the saddle on Shabbos because you're exerting extra work for no reason. Rather, walk it back and forth in the yard, and then as it's walking, the saddle will fall off by itself. So now that the fact it says that you can't go ahead and take it off, certainly you can't go ahead and put it on. So if a saddle is usher, why should a saddlecloth be any different? So Reb Zera, Shavke, leave him alone. Why? Karabi Sfila, he holds like his Rebbe, the Amar Rav Chia Barasi, because Rav Chia actually said in the name of Amar Rav, and they said the name of Rav. Tolin Taraskal lebehema the lekavachema lemardos. One is allowed to go ahead and put a traskal. Traskal is a feeding bag in order for the animal. Basically, that doesn't need to go ahead and put his head all the way into the ground. You have a feeding bag that hangs around the neck. So you're allowed to go ahead and hang a feeding bag to your donkey and on Shabbos. And certainly, if you can go ahead and put a feeding bag on it, certainly you can go ahead and put a blanket on it, right? So what do you see over here? So you see, so he holds like Rav. So Rav here clearly says when he said Mardos is mutter, right? He said what was the reason why the Mardos was mutter is so he held because he held like Rav who held it was mutter, and even a feeding bag is not only a saddlecloth is mutter, but even a feeding bag is also mutter. Mahas mishum tanuk shari. Over there, it was because of tanuk. In other words, when you go ahead and put on the saddlebag, it's mutter, right? The mishum tsar lo kol shekain. And over here, because it's tsar, in other words, an animal is cold, and you put the saddlecloth upon the animal, right? So now we're introducing this new idea. So what's the reason why it's worn? It's worn actually to keep the animal warm. If it's something is to use to keep the animal warm, which is alleviating pain, right? Which is alleviating pain, then, right, it's mutter. So in the case of saddlebag, it's not alleviating pain, is just adding pleasure. In other words, it's making eating easier, which is pleasure. So if we allow to pleasure, certainly we will allow removing pain. All right. So therefore, a saddlebag is mutter, and kol shekain, the feeding bag is mutter, and kol shekain, the saddlecloth is mutter because that removes tsar. And Shmuel Amar, and that was the opinion of Rav. And Shmuel Amar, Mardas mutter, traskol aser. He says, no, the Mardas, I agree with you. Right, the pain is aser, and therefore to remove the pain of the animal by making him warm, so he's no longer in pain, then it is mutter. However, traskol, but the feeding bag is aser, because that's just for oneg. You don't need to do extra work in order for oneg of the animals. So Azar Rabbi Chiya bar Yosef, Ram Lishmaitzi the Rav, Kamei the Shmuel, Rabbi Chiya bar Yosef reported Rav's opinion of basically that it's permissible to hang a feeding bag on an animal on Shabbos. You tell that to Shmuel. It's Amar Le, Ihachi, if he said this, Ihachi Amar, if he said this, Abba lo yoda b'mili de Shabbasa, v'loi klum, right? If that's the case, then Abba was referring to Rav, right? He does not know the halachas of Shabbos. No, he vehemently disagreed with Rav in terms of this halacha here, and he says it's absolutely not permitted to go ahead and do something for the purpose of oneg for an animal. And Kisalik Reb Zera went up there. So Ashkel Rabbi Binyan Bar Yafas, so he found Rabbi Binyan Bar Yafas Diyasev. He was sitting with Kamar Le Mishmei Rabbi Yechon. He taught a limud in the name of Rabbi Yechon. Naisnein Mardas Agabe Chomer Shabbos. One is allowed to go ahead and put a saddlecloth upon a donkey on Shabbos. So Amar Le, so he said to him, Yashir v'chein targima aruch, right? B'bavel. Right, Shkoyach, yeah, thank you. Right, this is a good, and this is the same way the Aryach, right? Aryach B'Bavel sort of refers to like a king. This is the way, and this is reference to Shmuel. So Shmuel also taught this. So the Gemara says Aryach Manu. Like, who is this Aryach? So Shmuel. So Shmuel said this. Shmuel was one who said a saddlecloth is mutter to put on Shabbos. So I B'ha Rav Nami Amram. Rav also said, right? We said before, a saddlecloth. Everyone agrees. Both Rav and Shmuel hold the saddlecloth. They only argued in the case of a feeding bag, right? But when it comes to a saddlecloth to keep the animal warm, both Rav and Shmuel said it. So why, when he heard the limud, did he say, Shmuel said that? Rav also said it, right? Why did it say Rav? Rather, he heard the second halacha. He didn't only say that a saddlecloth is mutter to put on, and then he also said you cannot go ahead and put a feeding bag. And then on that was a machlokes Rav and Shmuel, and only there Shmuel says aser and Rav says mutter, and on that he says right, and so too was reported by Aruch, right, by Shmuel and Baba. Kuli alma mihas mardos mutter. So he said, nevertheless, everybody allows a saddlecloth to be put on. So ma'ishna meukaf. What is the difference between that and removing a saddle? So shani hasam the afshar dunafim memela. Over there, to remove a saddle, that's possible for it to go off by itself. So therefore, to go ahead and remove a saddle, perhaps could be doing extra work on Shabbos. But however, to go ahead and to put when you go ahead and put on the saddlecloth, even though it is work, but it's needed work because you're relieving the pain of the animal from being cold. And Rav Papa Omar kan l'chama kan l'tzana. Right? One is the case of heat, right? It's the case of, you have to warm the animal, that's fine. And the other one is when you remove a saddle, we don't care about it in terms of doing extra work. Rather, you take out the saddle to cool off the donkey, right? You want to cool it off. So to warm it by putting it on, that's mutter. To cool it off, that's forbidden. To heat it up when it's cold, there's pain in the animal, and therefore to remove it. However, the sun, no less late sorrow, right? To cool it off, there is no pain. So the animal's a little hot. To cool it down, that's not a pain, right? Fine. So there is basically a minimum requirement, right? For to make a little, to warm it up, but there is no requirement to cool it off, right? Fine. V'hainu the Amri Inchi, like the people say, Chamra fil b'tkufas Tammuz kariyale, right? A donkey, even in the middle of the summer, is cold, right? They're always cold. So in other words, they're always in pain. They always need to be, right, more blankets on them and more saddlecloths, and therefore the saddlecloth is always mutter to put on. So Meis has a kasha liyatza sus bezonav shual v'loy bezurus shebein. A horse should not go out with the tail of a fox or some sort of string between its eyes, because that's like a decoration. It's not needed for the animal, and therefore this decoration, right, is not needed to be carried on Shabbos. And lo yatza azav b'kisa is a longer brisa, right? Lo yatza azav b'kishalo, and also a zav, a guy who has a seminal drip, and he needs to wear a pouch in order to basically save his clothing so it doesn't soil it. He should not go out with his pouch. Shalo v'lo izim shabakisha today, and also goats should not go out with a pouch over their udders. V'lo para b'chsum shabapia, and also a cow not with a muzzle upon its mouth. V'lo sayichim b'traskel shabafiyam l'roshus harabim. And also not saichim are young horses or colts, right, with their feeding bags on their mouths into the Rishus Harabim. We'll get to this soon. V'loi behema b'sandal. Also, an animal should not go out with his shoes, like if the animals, I guess what's it called, horseshoes, right, on the animal. Shregleha v'loi b'kamiyah, and now with the kamiyah. Kamiyah is basically an amulet, which is basically psukim or different words that are written down, which are used to go ahead and help cure different pains, right? To different medications. The person's chayla, they often would put like a little amulet, like some psukim in parchment, whatever, and we'll get to this later on, and put like a little, capsule or something around their neck, and it would wear it. So an animal has some sort of disease or some sickness. And not allowed to go out with the amulet. Even if he is a mumcha, even if the amulet itself is a mumcha. What does that mean? Amulet is mumcha usually means expert. In other words, even this amulet is proven to have worked with other animals. Nevertheless, this can't go ahead and be worn on Shabbos because it's considered to be carrying. And this is a chumrah we say by an animal as opposed to a person. We'll soon see what that means. It doesn't mean that maybe a person can go out with an amulet. We'll soon see. But an animal is allowed to go out, I guess, with a bandage on its wound, or like a splint upon its broken leg. That's not considered to be carrying. Or a placenta that was hanging from the animal after it gave birth. And you're allowed to go ahead and right, you stuff up the bell. It's not allowed to go out. An animal used to wear bells, I guess, when they were trying to sell it, to draw attention to the animal. So it appears that one is selling the animal. Also, can't make noise. So you're allowed to go ahead and plug up the bell, right, in order that it doesn't make noise. And then you can walk it in your yard, but you can't go ahead and walk it outside with a bell because then it looks like it's for sale in the markets. So now what's the kasha? Nevertheless, it says, so it says over there, you can't go ahead and take out these colts, right? These young horses, right? With the feed bags, around their neck into the Rishus Harabim. So you can't take, it said the Rishus Harabim. So it says the Rishus Harabim hudlo. It sounds like you can't go ahead and walk around the Rishus Harabim because it's carrying. However, but it sounds like in your own yard, you can put on a feed bag, right? So isn't that saying that even any type of animal, not only colts, but even horses, right? Even its parents, right? And why is that? We defined earlier as the Machlokes in Rav and Shmuel was because the reason why they argue in case of the bag, right? The feed bag around the neck is because it makes it easier, right? It's more onig, it's pleasurable for the animal in order to eat this way. So what do you see over here? We see that something which is done for pleasure is mutter to do that exertion on Shabbos. So this is a proof for would be proof for Rav. So our answer is no. Lo biktanim u'shum tsar. No. The reason why it said Dafka Saichin, the Dafka said colts, young horses, right, is because I guess they can't lower their heads as well, and therefore it's painful for them to eat the other way. So therefore you're allowed to go ahead and put a feed bag upon the around the necks of the young horses, and therefore you're alleviating the pain. And Diganami also make an inference. The Ketani says there, Dumya.
So what about horseshoes?
One second. So it says over there, Dumya to Kamiya. So it says over there by Kamiya, right? Similar to a Kamiya. that that just like over there, it was done because of this sickness, right? Because of pain, and you're allowed to go, in terms of wearing the amulet. So too, the issue of the feedback was also an issue of pain when it came to the young horse. Yeah, someone has a question?
Yeah. What about the horseshoe? Does that alleviate the pain?
So the horseshoe was right. So we said over there, the horseshoe. It's I think it said below, right? You can't do over there. Right, it said the animal's not allowed to go ahead with the horseshoe. That's considered to be carrying. It's not considered to be, a tire or something which is needed for the animal. So Omar Mar. But if it would be for pain, then something for pain would be permitted. But let's see. Omar Mar. We're going to learn about this Bryce level. So Omar Mar and not with the Kamea, and not with this Kamea, even though it was basically a mumcha, which he said, even though it was basically proven to work. We said over there by a person, he's not allowed to go outside with a kamea around his neck that's going to be carrying, which isn't proven to work. But if somebody is using one that is proven to work, it does work. So Gemara answers, okay, it says, okay, over here we're also talking about one that is not proven to work. That's the one we said you can't go upon. What do you mean you can't? Our mission is that this Brisa says that even if it's a mumcha, you can't go out with it, right? So mumcha liyada means mumcha lebehema. No, it means it's proven, it's worked by a human, right? Even though it doesn't work by an animal. So in other words, if it even something which works by a human and it doesn't work with an animal, then it can't go out with it. Can something be effective to heal a human, but it doesn't heal an animal? So Gemara says, yes, it does. Why? Adam Yislei Mazla. A person has mazel. A person has mazels, he has an extra help, right? It's like a malach shelo, as Rashi says, or melitz love, right? He goes out and he helps him. However, behemoth less they mazel but an animal doesn't have extra help. So without the extra help, perhaps the kamea doesn't work. So therefore, we do find that kameas perhaps could be successful with humans as opposed to animals. So therefore, despite the fact that it works with a human, you can't go ahead and have the animal go out with it because that would be carrying on Shabbos. If that's the case, didn't the next line say this is a chumrah by an animal versus a human? If we're talking about the same type of kameya, right, that it works by a human but not an animal, so then what's the chumrah? So mi svarta kameya. Who says that's talking about kameya? Asandokoi. Actually, that was going on the shoe, right? We said that an animal cannot go out with a horseshoe, right? An animal can go out with a horseshoe, but a human is allowed to go out with his shoes. That's not considered to be carrying. That's part of his wardrobe, and he's wearing it, and therefore it's mutter for him to go out with it, and therefore that's a chumrah, we say, by an animal from a person, because it can't go out with horseshoes, and we can go out with our shoes. So Tashmakam, listen, Sachin, let it go ahead and smear lotion or oil on it. You're allowed to go ahead and scrape off a scab, a wound. But you can't go ahead and do it for an animal. So you can't go ahead and put oil on the wound or scrape off, but for an animal, we can't do it human. So my lav dika makom shum tsar. So is it not referring to there's pain? And nevertheless, even something which is to save for pain, you're still forbidden to do. And we said earlier, anything for tsar is mutter. The guy says, "Lo, the gomer malach b'shuntan." No, the wound was over, and basically this is tanug. This is for pleasure, and not necessarily this was for to alleviate pain. And tashmakam, listen, behemashov sadam, animal which is basically like running a fever, his blood is taken over. You can't go ahead and stand it in the cold water, b'shil shetitzan, in order to cool off. However, other but a human, if he's cold, then he's allowed to go ahead and stand in cold water in order for him to cool down. So you see over there, it's for pain. Why can't you alleviate the pain by letting the animal stand there? So now over there, the reason is because there's a gzeira. You might come to go ahead and crush medication, right? Medication normally had to be crushed, and therefore, since this is a form of standing the water of medication, so therefore, we would be scared that a person would go ahead and and take medication, which would basically ensue one crushing up, different, stuff for, stuff. For
I have a question
yeah.
regarding that shoe.
Yeah.
They didn't put nail into
right. So it
the
seemed to be
horseshoe.
something that was not permanent in the animal. That's how I understood it. That these shoes we're talking about, it wasn't
like a booty.
Yeah, it could be something like that. Let me just see if it's.
Horseshoes
It just
were
says
always
it-
nailed into the
some
hook.
sort of metal and metallic. That's what it says. Sha'aisin lo sandal shamatecha shelo yizkak you on him, right? That makes sort of metal, right, sandal that that stones wouldn't go ahead and and hurt it or whatever, or chip away at it. It sounds like it's something that's not permanent, that's permanently nailed into it, because then obviously that doesn't come on or off. So I don't know. Anyways, so the Gemara says, we said by a person. So ihachi adam nami. If that's the case, right, standing cold water should be a gzera of shchiras samanon. Go ahead and crushing medication. So why doesn't the same thing apply with a human? So adam nami. So he says adam nami. Ihachi adam nami. So adam nira can make it. No, a person when he goes stand in the cold water, it looks like he's just going to cool off. Ihachi behema nami nira can make it. So animals also looks like it's appearing to cool off. So make it a behema. No, there is no cooling off by an animal. And by an animal, is there such thing to be geyser? You can't do something because a person might come crush medication. Now, if an animal is outside the tchum, a person is allowed to go ahead and call the animal, and and the animal will come to it, right? And we are not geyser by an animal. In other words, we don't make a geyser. It says, no, maybe you can't call to the animal, because if you call to the animal doesn't come, then person might go ahead and pick up the animal and bring it. So, right? So isn't that's the issue over there? So why isn't there a gzeira in that case? In our case, we're saying there's a gzeira. You can't cool off an animal because you might go ahead and crush medication. So why over there do we say you're allowed to call out to the animal, and there's no gzeira? You might go ahead and carry the animal. So the Gemara says, so what was the case of there? The case was like this. That it was still within the tchum of the owner. In other words, what happened? The animal was by someone else at the beginning of Shabbos. It was by a shepherd. Now, really, the halachas by a tchum, right, is an animal is allowed to go outside of its tchum, right? So, and he wanted to bring the animal in, right? So, but he didn't want to go ahead, and we were worried that that area which we were, you weren't allowed to carry. You're allowed to walk in there, but you weren't allowed to carry. So he was trying to call the animal in. Right, so it wasn't an issue of him going outside the tchum or the animal being outside the tchum, because no issue with the animal at the tchum. The issue was him carrying it. So when it says outside of his tchum, it didn't mean the tchum of the person, because it was permitted that where the animal was mutter for the person to go. It was only referring to outside the tchum of where the animal started Shabbos, despite the fact that it was allowed to be out there. So the only issue was of carrying it, and since the person was allowed to walk over there, it was within his tchum, therefore there was no gzeira in that case. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Amar Shchiga Saman Gufa Tanait. He says, no, this actually crushing medication is actually machlokes Tanait by Pasvei Avos. The Tanya Behema Shachla Karshinan, animal that ate too much vetch. Lo Yertzin Bechatz B'Shul Shitid Ra'aveh. A person should not go ahead and run around in his yard. It's not good for his stomach, because if he runs it around, then the animal his bowels become loose. He'll go to the bathroom, which is really what he wants it to do. And a person's not allowed to run around, because if you come and run around, you might give it medication that it cleans out his bowels. And Rabbi Yosha says, no, you're allowed to go ahead and run it around. It's no problem. And Darash Rava and Rabbi Darshan Halacha Rabbi Yosha. The Halacha Rabbi Yosha there that you're allowed to go ahead, and there is no gzeira of shchiras simanon when it comes to animals. Fine, 2 dots. So Amar Mar lo yotza hazah b'kishalo lo izim b'kishalo d'dayim. So we learned over there that a zav, a person who has a seminal drip, should not go ahead and wear a pouch, right? He should not wear his pouch because it's carrying, right? And also, goats should not go ahead and wear any sort of pouch around their udders. I would learn the brisa that goats are allowed to go ahead with a pouch or upon their udders. So it says Rav Yehuda like kasha had mahadik hadal mahadik. One is the case where it was tied tightly. If it was tied tightly, then there's no problem with it going out, because it's not going to fall off. And no, it's not considered to be carrying. It's considered to be part of the animal. It's needed for the animal, and therefore, if it's attached, if it's tightly attached, right, then we say that it won't fall off and the guy won't carry it. But if we say that it's loose, then the person might come carry it. Rav Yosef Amar, Rav says, no, you don't have to say that. Tonight, it's machlos tanaim. Tonight shakalta, right? You're talking about machlos tanaim, me'alma, all right? So he says, no, Tanai Shakalta, I'm a Tanai. So what do you mean? Just a case of, is whether we're talking about a case of, it depends. We're not talking about a case of it depends how it was tied or not. It's actually Machlokes Tanaim. The Tanai we learn in the Mishnah, our Mishnah, Ha'izim Yaisis Tzuros, right? Goats are allowed to go out when they're tied. Rabbi Yaisi Oiser. Rabbi Yaisi says, no, it's Aser. Right, except for ewes, they're allowed to go out with their klunos, which we'll see tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem. So it says of there, goats are allowed to go out, and goats are not allowed to go out. So obviously, Machlokes Tanaim. So what are you going ahead and saying? It depends if it's tied loose or not. It's actually Machlokes Tanaim. And Rabbi Yehuda, and in that also there's a third opinion in our Mishnah. Rabbi Yehuda says, right? He says the goats that go out, right, in order to go ahead and to dry out the milk, then it's mutter. If it's good to go ahead and to catch the milk, then it's aser. And that was the third opinion. Rabbi Yehuda, or you can say that it really, this machlokes over here is really Rabbi Yehuda of our Mishnah. One is a case of where we're going ahead and trying to dry out the milk. Therefore, the reason for that is that they're tied tightly, and the other was to catch the milk. Therefore, you want the milk to come out. Therefore, it's not tied as tightly, and therefore it would be usher because it might fall off and he might carry it. So Tanya Rabbi Yehuda Ma'aseh base Antunchia Shahaya Dedim Gasin. So the Ma'aseh with the goats on Antunchia that their udders were very large. Kisin Kadesh Lo Yisutu Dedeyan. In order, they made pouches for them in order that they should not go ahead and basically scrape against the ground, and therefore that was permitted for them to go out on Shabbos because it was protecting the animal from sar. And Tana Rabbanan Ma'aseh Be'echad Shemesa Ishtay. So there was a Ma'aseh that a man, his wife died. Vehenicho Ben Liyanik, and she left him a son, a young baby who needed to nurse. All right, and he didn't have any money to go ahead and pay a wet nurse, to pay a woman to come and nurse his child. And a miracle happened, and he was able to lactate like a woman. And then he went ahead and he nursed his own son. And Amar Rav Yosef Barei Kama Gadol Adam Zeh Shnasal Neis Kazeh, right? And says Rav Yosef, see how great this person is for a miracle to have happened on behalf of this man. And Amar Abaye says, no, Adarabba, opposite. Kama Guru Adam Zo, right? How unfortunate was this person, right? And bad was he? Shenishtarala CJ Bracious, right? That they changed that nature was changed for him. And I was like, HaKadosh Baruch Hu could have just given him food, right? But what did he do? Right? He made him lactate. So therefore, it was actually a bad miracle. And Rabbi Yehuda Barei Kama Kashim is the rest of Shaladam Shenishtar Alav Sidra Beishis. And Rabbi Yehuda points out, or see how difficult it is for a person to make a livelihood, right? In other words, it was easier to go ahead and change nature than to go ahead and just give this guy a raise in his job, in order for him to be able to afford to go ahead and pay for a wet nurse. And Amar Rav Nachman Teda the Mizcharish Nisa v'lo Yavra Mizoyin. Right? You see that it's very common that miracles happen for people. They save their lives are saved. But however, there's not miracles that all of a sudden people's mizonos, their sustenance all of a sudden increases out of nowhere. And Tanra Bana Ma'aseh Echad Shenasa Isha Gidemes. One time there's another Ma'aseh with a person. He married a woman that she Gidemes. She was missing her hand. Her hand was cut off. V'lo hikir ba ad yom Ma'aseh. And her husband never realized it in his life. He never saw it. He never looked at her hand, and he never saw that she was missing her hand. So that says Rav, right? See how great, how tznuah this woman must have been, that that her hands were never exposed. She was so tznuah. Right? What are you talking about? That's the way normal one is. Rather, how tznuah was he, but the fact that he didn't recognize that his wife had such a had such a wound on her hand. Fine. Now going back real quick, the last part's pretty quick. So he says the next part of Mishnah says Zecharim Yaitzin Levuvin. Right. So the beginning of the Mishnah said that the Zecharim, the male animals, can go out Levuvin. So my Levuvin. What is Levuvin? Some Rav Huna. Tutari. So he says tutari. Basically, it was like two animals. They would the two animals would be tied to each other. They go on two, so they wouldn't run off alone. So therefore, they were tied on twos. They're allowed to go out with this on Shabbos. So my mashad hai levuvin lishna dikaru. Where do you see this? The lashon of levuvin sounds like to keep them close. The pasuk says, pasuk in Shir Hashir, and it says lebaftini achaisi kala. right? To get close, right? My sister, right? My kala is an expression between Bnei Yisrael and Kodesh Baruch Hu. So it means to get close, and therefore it was talking about to keep two animals close. And ulo or shekshurin lahem keneged libam kadei shelo yipol aleim b'zevim. So it said no. It used to be some sort of like cover or shield that they used to wear underneath the animals, these zacharim, in order to go ahead and protect their house, so they wouldn't be attacked by wolves. So Gemara says, "Eidim zachar nafli and the cave is going nafli." What do you mean? So the wolves who were protected from wolves. So why only the male animals? So the wolves only attacked the male sheep and not the female, right? So Meshum Damaska Bereish Adra. No, because the males go in the front of the flock. So V'Zevim Bereish Adra Nafli B'Sayv Adra Lo Nafli. What do you mean? So the wolves only attack the front of the flock; they don't attack the back of the flock. No, it must be because the males are fatter, and therefore the wolves attack the fatter ones. When a kavas lakashmini, and the females are not fat, and therefore they don't need to be protected. They don't need to wear this protective gear over their heart. I assume yadi bein hani v'hani. What can the wolves can they differentiate which one's fat or which one's not? El mishum is aki chutmayo. Rather, omaski. So he said, over there because kidab, right? Maski kidab. So he said, no, because the way I guess the males move their head, they move their head back and forth, and it looks like they're sort of instigating against the wolves. So if they're instigating, then the wolves will go ahead and attack those who instigate them, which is the males and not the females. Therefore, the males need extra protection, and they're allowed to go ahead and wear their protection. Right? No, it was a piece of leather that they used to go ahead and tie right upon the genitals of the male animals in order that they wouldn't go ahead and mount the females. Mimai. So why do you say that? I mean, kind of say because the Sefer says right? The female, the ewes would go out with shechuzos, wearing shechuzos. My shechuzos. What is a shechuzos? They would basically, they would keep the tail up in order that the males would mount them, and therefore they would, have, more sheep. So in other words, that it's the reisha is tied to the sefer. Reisha kadesha lo yalu on the keva. So sometimes, right, they would allow to, sometimes it's for the purpose of they wouldn't, in order for them not to go ahead and procreate. And that was where kadesha lo yalu on the keva. So therefore, they would go ahead and cover up the males, right, on the kevos. The sefer kadesha yalu aleim zachar. And the sefer was talking about a case where they wanted the animals to go ahead and, and have babies. And therefore, it would go ahead and keep the tail high up and hold it up. So my masha the high shchuzos listen to giluhu. And who says the word shchuzos means to let revealed? In other words, he used to go hold up the tail in order that for the genitalia of the females to be revealed for the males to mount them. So where do you see shchuzos is lashon of revealing? Who the pasuk says v'nei isha likrasai she's zoyna netzuras lev. It says over there. Pasuk in Mishlei that behold that the woman went out to go ahead and call him, right? Just like a zona, right? Just like a zona and and his surrounded hearts, right? So you see over there, it means to go out. She was revealed like a zona, and therefore see shchuzos as referring to that, and therefore that's the pshat of the Mishnah when it says males was referring to covering up that it wouldn't go ahead and procreate with the females. Everyone should have a wonderful day, and we will stop here. Thank you.